Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news, and boy, things are not going my way. Wait till you hear the leadoff story on Monday's episode. It involves David Letterman, and boy, this one hurt. Today, I'm swimming upstream against this whole Jim Gaffigan bourbon thing. The last time I checked, his bourbon set on YouTube had over 1.5 million views. It's probably at 2 or 3 million by the time you're hearing this. And boy, I lasted 5.5 minutes, and I'm like, I think Jim Gaffigan is just getting by in reputation, but people are clicking on this thing. It's got, 1.5 million plus views, so it's obviously successful, and the legend of Jim Gaffigan continues. And okay, everybody, he was on the Today Show and spoke about his bourbon obsession.
Father time, it's very important. I'm out there supporting fathers, the liquid that every father needs, because I believe fathers are underappreciated. I do.
What is it about bourbon?
Bourbon it's probably the most important invention of Jesus's. And it is, there's something I love about bourbon, all the elements. I love the bourbon community. I love how it
brings... There's a community.
There's, Al and I, we've bonded over this. It allows men to get together, and men need that. Men are kind of socially inept, and they need something.
What is it about bourbon that brings men together?
I mean, I think some of it is it's alcohol.
I'll tell you what you should watch is Kevin Hart's special on Netflix. That is the second best special of the year, behind only Mark Maron's special. End to end, just funny. You should watch it. I did have it in my notes for the holiday weekend, and there has been a lot of news. I did want to talk about the Eddie Murphy documentary a little bit, just about the idea of the return of Eddie Murphy to stand-up. And I can't see a scenario where it goes well, because younger people will be like, what's the big deal about this guy? Us old people like me, his Delirious and Raw, but Delirious in particular is built up so much in our minds, and I could probably do half of Delirious off the top of my head right now if I had to, that my brain would be looking for like so much of an endorphin hit that as soon as I saw Eddie Murphy doing stand-up, I don't think he could possibly live up to what my mind would need it to be. If he does his old style act, the taglines to the setup, Mr. Murphy, you have AIDS. If he does that, he gets canceled. If he doesn't do that, well, Eddie Murphy's woke and he's gone soft. I don't think he can win. There's such a thin line there. I don't think he should return to stand-up comedy at this point. It's been way too long. Eddie Murphy will receive the AFI Life Achievement Award, America's highest honor for a career in film. This announced by the American Film Institute's Board of Trustees. Murphy will be honored at a gala on April 18th. That should make for some good content. 2 weeks after turning 65, which seems impossible, Kathleen Kennedy, you know her from Star Wars. She said Eddie Murphy is an American icon, a trailblazing force in the arts of film, television, and stand-up comedy. His versatility knows no bounds. Across 5 decades, his enduring impact on our culture has inspired artists and audiences alike, and AFI is proud to honor him with the 51st AFI Lifetime Achievement Award. Previous winners, I won't read all 50, but some big names here. John Ford, Jimmy Cagney, Orson Welles, Bette Davis, Henry Fonda, Hitchcock, Jimmy Stewart, Fred Astaire, Frank Capra. In more modern times, and by modern I mean 1994, Jack Nicholson, Spielberg, Clint Eastwood, Scorsese, Robert Wise, who of course directed Star Trek The Motion Picture, which December 7th is the anniversary. Are you going to watch the film on December 7th like you do every year like I do? Yes, of course you are. You're not crazy. Harrison Ford, Tom Hanks, De Niro, Meryl Streep, George Lucas, Connery, Pacino, Clooney, Denzel, and last year Francis Ford Coppola. Nice company for Eddie Murphy. The New York Times and Christina Sakova wrote, Adam Sandler is the light we need. Yes, Adam Sandler. Uh-oh, what's this going to be? Christina says, when I bought tickets for my dad and I to see Adam Sandler live at the United Center in Chicago, I worried it was a gamble. My dad's a Sandler guy, but not a live events guy. You may think of Mr. Sandler most readily as that goof who sang the Hanukkah song, or the one who played enduring man-child characters like Happy Gilmore or Billy Madison. Even in middle age, after a successful 40-year career, Sandler inexplicably got the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. How's that possible? That's the thing that happened. I've got a bulletin board up here in the studio where it says Amy Schumer hosted the Oscars once. I'm going to write below that Adam Sandler won the Mark Twain Prize for Humor. Both those facts seem impossible to me. I'm just going to stare at them as I record the podcast. Christina writes, the Sandman appears now kind of a schlub icon, known for wearing bloomer sweats, basketball sneakers, and a scruffy beard he once described as black and gray cornflakes stuck to his face. Christina writes, at his best, he's slantedly charming and delightfully fabulous. Yes, he leans into a lewd pose occasionally, but dirty jokes have never been the whole story with him. That's why I believe he's such a salve. At his core, it's so clear that he has heart. Christina writes, before we found our seats, my dad asked if there was much profanity in Mr. Sandler's stand-up. Yeah, I said, but not much sex. After Mr. Sandler reeled off one of his cruder jokes near the beginning of the show, I cringed. Then in my peripheral vision, I saw my dad belly laughing. As I scanned the enormous crowd, no one among us seemed uncomfortable. In fact, what I saw was relief. Maybe they were relieved that the show was almost over. Who knows? I'd have to check. By the way, big announcement on this podcast tomorrow. If you've been in the Facebook group, you know what it is. But big, huge, tremendous announcement tomorrow. Colin Jost and Michael Che were on the Manning cast on Monday Night Football as the San Francisco 49ers crushed the Carolina Panthers, as they always do. Peyton Manning asked each of them to name their dream pick for a future SNL host. Michael Che said, Denzel Washington. I think Denzel, of all the great movies he's done, we so rarely got to see him just be funny and silly. I would love to see Denzel hosted. Fun fact, when I graduated Fordham University, our celebrity speaker was some random actor that nobody cared about, this guy Denzel Washington, and we all we didn't play on our phones. We didn't have phones yet, but we all kind of zoned out. Oops. Colin Jost went with Tiger Woods. Huge. I would love it. That's a terrible pick, Colin Jost. Jost added, I'd also love if Michael Jordan ever came back now that he's doing some broadcast stuff for the NBA. That would be such a cool one. For his third pick, Joe said Steph Curry. I think Steph's never done it. Maybe it's the right timing for him to do it. It's the hardest with the NBA because they always have to be the first show of the year they can't do it. You can't say President Trump isn't getting things done. Now, he and I don't agree on all the issues, and we'll talk about one of those issues tomorrow, on which we do agree. But you can't say the man doesn't get things done. I told you the other day, he wanted them to make Rush Hour 4. Well, Paramount Pictures has agreed they're going to work on Rush Hour 4. Both Deadline and Variety reporting, Paramount Pictures will distribute the Brett Ratner-directed sequel on behalf of Warner Brothers. Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker expected to return for Rush Hour 4. By the way, pay no attention that Paramount is trying to buy Warner Brothers and they need the government to approve it. Pay no attention to any of that. The president just wants to see Rush Hour 4, and the guys at Paramount were like, that's a great idea, sir. If the president wants to impress me, let's do something about Star Trek and Patton Oswalt helping to ruin it, okay? And, of course, make 1230 great again. We'll get into that tomorrow. Jay Leno says ticket sales for his stand-up shows went up almost 30% when he made this one change, says the clickbait headline. Jay was on the Today Show and said, I took politics out of it. I noticed ticket sales are up 20-30% just because nobody wants to be lectured. When you're on a TV and you can play directly with your audience and there's a laugh track, when you go to Indiana or Kentucky or any other place of the country, you're always going to have a third of the people who don't agree with you politically, so why even go there? I don't know, Jay, maybe you believe in something. I don't know. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I'm a guy in a basement doing a podcast. Hoda asked Jay Leno if the current political landscape made comedy more of a challenge. Jay Leno said, I don't think it's any trickier. We always had tough times. Stuff that used to be the law is now against the law, and that's great. Ultimately, it's a bit like a donkey. Sometimes you got him in the head with a 2x4 to get its attention, but eventually it'll listen. The folks at Billboard recommended some comedy specials for you to stream if you've got some time left on this weekend. A lot of football again today. I mean, so much football this weekend. In olden times, Thanksgiving weekend would be like when I would catch up on movies or my family would binge like the Fast and the Furious movies. Now there's just like constant football. There's no time to watch anything but football. They really liked Michelle Wolf's The Well, and add, while Frankie Quinones' Damn That's Crazy isn't exactly his debut special, it might as well be since 2021's HBO half-hour Super Homies had its flow broken up by sketches. They liked Adam Pally's An Intimate Evening with Adam Pally, the idea, a behind-the-scenes for an evening of cover songs strung together with stories and jokes, except most of the songs don't clear licensing, and the stories may or may not be true. You'll find that on HBO. Frankie Quinones on Hulu. Again, you have to decide, is Frankie Quinones worth supporting fascism? Maybe he'll eventually release a special on DVD, and you can watch it that way. Leslie Jones' Life Part 2 is on Peacock. Michelle Wolf's The Well is on Netflix. The New York Times profiled Veer Das. They caught him boxing. Veer Das said, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever done. He clarified, working out in front of the New York Times. Mr. Das explained, it's nice to be out of breath and a little bruised. It's good prep for adversity. The Times says each line follows more or less the same format. An example, I come from an India that has the largest working population under 30 on the planet, but still listens to 75-year-old leaders with 150-year-old ideas. Another example, I come from an India where we take pride in being vegetarians and yet run over the farmers who grow our vegetables. They then quoted the joke that got him in some trouble. I'm not going to quote it here because it's just not what I do. But they point out that Veer didn't think much of posting the joke at the time. He posted the video on YouTube and then headed to New York with his wife to attend the International Emmy Awards. By the time he got back to Mumbai, there was a chance he could be arrested. Veer explains, my lawyer's like, we'll see what happens. So she's on standby, and then I have the conversation with my wife. If I get arrested, this is where all the money is. Just have this much left over for legal fees. Here's all my cards. Here's everything. All the logins. Yikes. He says, India's embraced me. I have a massive audience. They just don't own news channels. You know what I mean? That is your comedy news for today on a holiday Sunday. Enjoy the football games and December tomorrow. Wow. See you then.